The most unique thing about George, in my mind, is how deeply and genuinely he cares for people, whether that's patients or the people that get to work with him or his family.
You know, George is pretty strong across all of those. He's got very good science taste, he's got great business instincts, and he's got very good people skills.
He's a scientist who gets a gleam and a sparkle in his eye, and you can see the wheels in his brain turning when there's cool science in front of him. But he's also very practical and really thinking about how that science can be translated into care for patients.
George is almost always the smartest person in the room, but he's rarely the most vocal or the loudest person in the room. His emotional sensitivity to people, his respect for people matches his IQ.
He never gets rattled. Good news, bad news, up or down. He's just kind of in the middle. And I would frame his most significant accomplishment is his ability to build really strong, cohesive, focused teams.
So George's role in the biotech industry has essentially been everything. You know, he started as an academic, was a scientist, was a company founder, led Biogen, one of the biggest companies in our industry, as a board member, and was an advocate.
The technology I most associate with George is transgenic animal technology. Transgenic animals have proven to be the most powerful technology over the last 40 years for elucidating gene function, as well as modeling human disease and disorders. Back in the very early 80s, George, as a postdoc in the Ruddle lab, was among the first groups to develop transgenic animals.
Well, George has played multiple roles in the biotech industry, starting with Bayer, a very, very large pharmaceutical company. Then he moved to a raw startup with Exelixis.
I think a big role in my decision to leave Bayer and go to Exelixis was my wife, because I'd been contemplating this for months and going back and forth and finding reasons why I shouldn't do it and why I should. And she finally called me on it and said, look, you're just making up reasons. Go do it. Just stop making excuses. And so she kind of, called it like it was.
Then he moved to a raw startup with Exelixis and turned that startup into a multi-billion-dollar company. And then moved to what you would call a middle-range pharma company, Biogen, which he basically transformed. He transformed it culturally. He launched 5 drugs. He doubled the revenue in a very short period of time.
George really brings that sense of experimentation, that sense of possible, that drive to discover more. And I think he is able to open up conversations in a way among people that not everyone has. And so people let their guard down and they have really good and deep conversations. And that, that's one of the great things about biotech generally, but George really is the personification of that.
Over the years, I've had the opportunity to work with a lot of really talented people. Some of them were mentors from whom I learned a lot. Many of them were younger people from whom I also learned a lot, but I think for the younger people, I think in many cases I was able to give them the benefit of my experience and things I've learned along the way. So I think there's now a cohort of people moving in the industry whose careers I've had an impact on and who hopefully will be among the leaders of the next generation of the biotech company. So I'm proud of that. I'm proud of having a cohort of people that whose lives I've impacted in some way. At Biogen, we had a number of drugs approved. Spinraza probably being the most emotional and satisfying because of its impact on babies.
The Life Sciences Leadership Award recognizes a whole career of excellence. And George has achieved that excellence in many different environments. And now, and this isn't a reunion party for George. He's got a new biotech company that he started up again in the Bay Area, up in Mission Bay, called Vir Bio. So he's extending his impact into the future. This isn't the end game for George, but this leadership award then recognizes him, let's say, mid-career.
If you think about where we were 15 years ago and where we are today, is a huge difference in what we can do and the approaches we can take, and therefore the kinds of new drugs we can bring to the market. And I think we will be able, hopefully Vir, but certainly the industry will get these diseases under control. We will get hepatitis B under control and TB, and we'll probably find a cure for HIV, and we'll be able to do better with diseases like flu. 80,000 people died from flu last year in the US. 80,000. I think we have the opportunity to make life better for people in the developed world and people in the developing world as well.
It just can't be overstated what Spinraza does for patients and their families. He's the complete package. I mean, he's a scientist, he's an executive, he's a human being who brings his humanity to the work that he does, and as a result, he's improved humankind.